In this video, what we're going to go ahead and cover is specifically stepping and skipping, but based on the letters. One of the hardest things to do, especially whenever you're learning the piano, is to deal with the alphabet and having to skip up or down, right? Whenever we, of course, are skipping up on the keyboard, we have to skip to the right. Whenever we're going down, we skip to the left. Now, again, this worksheet, of course, is included inside of the description. But we're going to go ahead and kind of work through it. We're going to see specifically practicing skipping and then as well as stepping. We'll see it specifically here on the keyboard so that you're able to visualize it, and then we'll end up just doing letters, okay? Now, whenever we're talking about skipping, we only skip over one letter. So, for example, whenever we're practicing skipping, right here I have us right in the note we skip to. So first we're starting on D, right? The letter D. Now, when we're skipping here, we are skipping specifically the next key over, right? Now, the next key right next to D is specifically, of course, E. We would end up having E after D. And so what we would end up writing here is that we would have D, we skip over E, we land on this key right here, and this key is the letter F, which is on the left side of the three black keys. Here we have a similar idea. This time we start on F and we're skipping up to the right. And so what we're dealing with here is that, again, starting from F, the next note after F should be G, but we're skipping over that letter. And so we end up on A. Remember, and this is the hard part, but at the end of every single musical alphabet run through, A, B, C, D, F, G, it repeats back to A. Now, over here on the right, specifically, we ask, what letter is a skip away? Now this one's a little bit tricky because you really just have to think about it based on either you could visualize the keyboard in your head. You could also try and visualize the letters themselves. So if you're going through the alphabet, the letter after C is A, B, C, D. So we skip over D. What's the next letter after D? And that letter would be E. So C skips over to E. Now whenever we have the letter A, again, whenever we're skipping, at that point we're going from A, we're skipping to C. Okay, so we have A, we would end up skipping to C. Because again, what we're doing is the letter that we're skipping here is we're skipping the letter B. Now you might find that that part is simple. Oftentimes what's going to be hard is actually skipping to the left or skipping down. And the reason why is because all of a sudden, again, we have to go backwards in the alphabet. Now on the keyboard it's a little bit easier to see, but the key that's right before A is G. So if we skip over G, we get to F. So again, we end up on the key that's to the left of the three black keys. The key that's to the left of the three black keys is always F. Here we end up having the letter E. So again, we skip back. Now the letter before E is specifically D, right? A, B, C, D, E. So if we skip over D, we end up on this key, which the key to the left of the two black keys is C, okay? Letter-wise, again, quite tricky. What you oftentimes can do is that I personally love practicing just going backwards in the alphabet, right? So if we can go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, we want to also try and be able to go G, F, E, D, C, B, A, right? So again, if we ended up practicing, and you can go ahead and try this, but we have those letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, trying to practice going G, F, E, D, C, B, A. And then just try and say that one more time, right? Just try it one more time. So we have G, F, E, D, C, B, A. And then if I cover it, would you be able to do it, right? So G, F, E, D, C, B, A. So now whenever you're going through, you have to think, okay, from the letter G then, okay, if we're skipping back, what's the letter before G? G, F. So we have to skip over F. What's the next letter after F? G, F, E. So when we're skipping back, we would end up skipping to the letter E. And we can see that here, right? If I start from G, I would go back to E. Same thing if I started on F, same idea. So G, F, F, E, D. So again, F, the next note is E, so that's a step away. So skip over that, go down to D. And again, we can draw kind of thing right here that shows it. So F skips over the E and lands on D. Now the next part is a little bit easier just because we're dealing with steps, but it's the same concept. So write in the note that we step to. So here I've given an example of a step. One of the things that you have to be very, very careful about in music is that there's two different kinds of steps. We have a half step and a whole step. This kind of step that we're talking about is more of a general one where it's just from letter to letter. So we aren't going to worry about the whole half step or whole step thing. So just going from letter to letter. So here we have C, and all we're doing is we're stepping up. So what's the next letter in the alphabet? A, B, C goes to D. Okay. Here we have an A, we're stepping up. We step up to the note that's on the right side of the three black keys, we would have B. So A goes to B. Now when we go here, we have, okay, what letter is a step away? Again, just think, what letter is above D in the alphabet? What's the letter in the alphabet after D? A, B, C, D, and of course we go to E. If I started on E, just ask yourself the same question. What's the next letter in the alphabet? A, B, C, D, E, F. So F would be a step away. Okay. Now we're going to do the opposite direction. Again, one of the things that you have to do is you have to switch your brain to thinking about the alphabet backwards, right? So it's not A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but it's G, F, E, D, C, B, A. So in terms of G, F, then the next letter backwards is E, right? You could either learn and memorize the musical alphabet backwards. You could also just think to yourself, okay, in A, B, C, D, E, F, G, what's the letter before F? A, B, C, D, E, F, right? So the letter before is E. Then specifically here we have A. So again, you have to ask yourself, okay, what is the note before A? In the alphabet, there isn't one, right? And so that means that you have to just ask yourself that question of, okay, what is the last one in our musical alphabet? So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? And then it starts over again. So here we would end up having G. And the next one, okay, what letter is a step away? If we started on B and we're going backwards, you just have to ask yourself, okay, what is the letter before B? It goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So this one would be A. And then you have to ask yourself, what's the letter before D? A, B, C, D. So the letter before D is C, right? Again, you could do it this way, or again, you could get used to trying to be able to write or say the alphabet forwards and backwards, right? So, and again, it's always really good to work different parts of your brain. So you could always do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You could write the letters, and then you could also say the letters. And then you could do the opposite, right? So just write it backwards. G, F, E, D, C, B, A. Just getting used to writing and saying it forwards, writing it, say it backwards, and that can kind of help us get used to the steps and the skips. Okay, but this has been specifically a video on stepping and skipping letters, and I hope that this is a little bit helpful for us in terms of understanding where the fingers need to go and how the notes move.